Every time you say yes to a meeting you didn't need to take, you are quietly lowering your own price. Nobody tells you this. Nobody warns you at the moment it happens. Your calendar fills up block by block, color by color, until the week looks like a subway map, and somewhere in your chest you feel a small flicker of pride. Look how needed I am. But that feeling is lying to you. It has been lying to almost everyone you know for years without a single person stopping to question it. Because there is a rule older than business, older than money itself, and it works the same way in a stock exchange, in a jungle, and in your Google Calendar. The thing everyone can access, nobody prizes. The thing that is hard to reach is the thing the world assumes must be worth reaching for. Think about the last time you walked past an open door on an empty building. You didn't stop. You didn't wonder what was inside. An open door tells your brain instantly without words, nothing here is worth protecting. Your eyes slide right past it, already looking for the next thing. Now picture a locked vault, steel, no visible handle. A single, unmarked door with a keypad nobody's told you the code to. You don't know what's inside, and that's exactly why your mind assumes it must be something enormous. Nobody builds 3 feet of steel around nothing. Your calendar is that door, and right now, for most people watching this, the door is wide open, swinging in the wind, and everyone walking by helps themselves. Here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. Every "sure, I'm free" you hand out, every slot you give away without a second thought, is a message not to the person you just helped, but to the market watching how you spend yourself. And the market is always watching, even when it looks like nobody's paying attention. Clients notice, employers notice, even friends notice on some level they'd never admit out loud. Because a full schedule doesn't mean you're in demand. It usually means the opposite. It means your time has no price attached to it, so anyone, literally anyone, can take a piece of it for free with no more effort than a text message. This isn't a productivity problem, it's a pricing problem, and it's been quietly running your life without your permission, one accepted invitation at a time. Let's go back 70 years to a biologist who couldn't explain something that made no evolutionary sense. Certain animals carry traits that should get them killed. A tail so large it slows them down in front of predators. A display so loud and bright it should attract danger from every direction. Logic says this should have been erased by natural selection generations ago. Instead, it became the exact reason those animals thrived, generation after generation. The insight, once someone finally saw it clearly, was almost embarrassingly simple. A costly signal is trustworthy precisely because it's costly. A weak, unfit creature could never afford to carry something so expensive and still survive long enough to reproduce. So when you see the burden, the size, the color, the risk, you're not looking at weakness. You're looking at proof of strength strong enough to carry that weight and still walk away alive. Now bring that idea back into your life, into your actual week. What's the most expensive thing a professional owns? Not the car in the driveway, not the watch on the wrist. Their time, and time spent doing nothing visible. A blocked-off morning, a Friday with 0 meetings, an inbox that waits 3 hours before it gets a reply is the single most expensive thing you can display in public. It is the modern version of the oversized tail. It says without a word, I can afford this. Can you? Most people are terrified of an empty-looking calendar because they read it as proof they're replaceable. In fact, it's closer to the opposite signal if you know how to hold it. An empty calendar you chose is not absence. It's a flex almost nobody else on your team, in your industry, in your group chat knows how to read yet, because almost nobody has been taught to read it at all. But here's where it gets dangerous, and this is the part most people skip because it's inconvenient to hear. You cannot protect an empty calendar with nothing behind it. A vault with no treasure inside is just an empty room with excellent marketing. If your actual work, your actual output, your actual value hasn't been built yet, blocking your time doesn't make you scarce. It just makes you unavailable, and those are not the same thing, no matter how similar they look from the outside. Confusing the two is how people convince themselves that avoiding work is the same as raising their price. It never is. The market doesn't reward absence. It rewards absence with a reason behind it. And here's the objection that always comes up at this point, the one you're probably already forming. What if I'm just starting out? What if nobody's chasing my time yet, and guarding an empty calendar just makes me look unemployed instead of exclusive? It's a fair question, and the honest answer is uncomfortable. Early on, the vault isn't sealed by refusing meetings. It's sealed by refusing to let your name attach to work you're not proud of. You don't need scarcity yet. You need a track record worth being scarce about. Think of a young jeweler with an empty display case insisting the glass is bulletproof. Nobody's impressed by the case until there's something inside worth stealing. The signal only works once there's a reputation heavy enough to be worth protecting, and building that reputation quietly and consistently is the actual first vault door, long before you ever get to guard your hours. Real scarcity value only exists when there's something behind the door worth protecting in the first place. Economists have a name for the extra income something earns purely because supply is limited, regardless of how much it actually costs to produce. A rare stamp, a rare stone pulled from rare ground, A rare hour with someone whose judgment you've already learned to trust with real money, real decisions, real consequences. The scarcity itself becomes part of the price, not instead of the value underneath it, but stacked directly on top of it. So the real move isn't block your calendar and wait to get discovered. That's not scarcity. That's just hiding with extra steps. The real move is this: build something worth guarding first, prove it quietly through the work itself, and only then start guarding it like it actually matters. In that order, never the other way around, no matter how tempting the shortcut looks at 2 in the morning when you're tired of being reachable. And once you start guarding it properly, something strange happens to the people around you. The ones who could always reach you before will push back, sometimes harder than you expect. They'll act mildly offended that you're not instantly available anymore, like you've broken an unspoken agreement. That reaction is not a red flag. Read it again, it's confirmation the signal landed exactly where it was supposed to. Nobody complains about a door that was always closed. People only complain when a door they used to walk through freely suddenly requires a knock, a reason, a reservation. There's a darker layer to this too, one worth knowing before you go further with any of it. In nature, the rarer a species becomes, the more some hunters chase it, not despite the scarcity, but specifically because of it. Rarity itself becomes the prize, separate from whatever the creature actually offers. Collectors don't always want the rare object for what it does. Sometimes they just want it because almost no one else can have it. The same pull exists with people, and it's worth sitting with for a second. The moment you become genuinely hard to reach, some people will chase harder not because they need what you offer, but because access itself has quietly become the trophy. Protecting your time isn't just about learning to say no more often. It's about knowing exactly who has earned the yes, and never confusing demand for your attention with demand for the actual work behind it. Those two things get mistaken for each other constantly, and mistaking them is expensive. So here's what actually changes once you understand the door for what it really is. You stop measuring your worth by how full the week looks on a screen. You start measuring it by what's actually waiting behind the hours you've chosen to protect. You stop apologizing for a slow reply. You start treating your calendar the way a jeweler treats a display case. Nothing goes on the glass unless it's already earned the space, unless it's already proven it deserves the light. The people who understand this rarely explain it out loud. They don't need to. Their calendar does the talking for them in a language most people never learned. A guarded hour held without apology says more about your position in a market than any resume, any pitch, any polished introduction ever could. The next time you're about to say yes to something out of guilt, out of fear of seeming unavailable, out of the old habit of proving you're needed, ask yourself one question first, quietly, before you type the reply. Am I opening the vault, or am I just leaving the door unlocked again? Because the market always finds out the difference eventually. It just takes longer than you think to notice, and by the time it does, the price has already been set, with or without your permission.